So you put aside 50,000 naira in an emergency fund for a particular month. That is when all the phone calls will start coming. That is when your brother will start calling you, your sister will start calling you, your mom will call you. This thing broke in the house, so we need to replace it. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Janet, and in this video I'm going to be talking about emergency funds and why I think it's important to have one. I've talked about emergency funds in a couple of my videos, but I feel like this topic deserves an entire video on its own. I talked about this in my budgeting video, which I'll link in the description. If you're interested to watch that, do go ahead and watch that video. I am not a financial advisor, okay? I'm just here to share with you information that I feel would be relevant to someone out there. This is something I do myself, which has been beneficial. So I believe it can be useful to someone out there. Okay, with that being said, what is an emergency fund? It's basically what the name says it is. It is simply money that you set aside to be able to have access to in times of financial emergencies. An emergency fund basically helps with your basic living expenses during difficult times. This can be your rent, food, bills, car maintenance, money to buy medicine, in a situation where, God forbid, something happens to your income, and you will definitely have something to fall back on to be able to keep up with your monthly expenses. Emergency funds gives us flexibility in difficult financial situations. The last couple of months or even a year has been difficult for a lot of people, and if it has taught us anything, is that nothing is certain. A lot of people lost their jobs. Even business owners lost their businesses. Some were counting losses instead of profits. So in situations like this, having an emergency fund can help to reduce the stress of not having any source of income. It might not be much because this COVID situation has lasted for a long time, several months. It might not be enough to cover all your expenses, but at least there's something there that can help you for the first 3 months or 6 months to be able to cover your living expenses for a couple of time until you figure out what next you want to do. So this is why I feel like having an emergency fund is very important. It's the flexibility it gives you, it's the option it gives you whenever there is a difficult financial situation. So how much should you save in an emergency fund? People save 3 to 6 months of their monthly expenses in an emergency fund. And what you want to do is to look at all your expenses per month and have a total of that, multiply that by 3 if you want to do 3 months, or 6 if you want to aim to save up to 6 months of your living expenses. If you already have a budget planner which you use, that will be so much easier. You just go in there and take a total of the expenses you have every month and multiply that by 3 or by 6. If you don't have a budget planner and you would like to try one, I have a detailed video budgeting for beginners that you can leverage. It can help you to track your expenses every month, and I'm going to link it here. There is an Excel sheet which I did demonstrate in that video, and it's going to help you to know where to put what. Okay, so do watch that video if you're interested. And I usually say that if you're able to, you can start with 3 months, and if you're able to get to 6 months worth of living expenses that you have in an emergency fund, I think you should stop and put any money that you have into other things that will give you high yield. Because the thing with emergency fund is that you'll have it in a savings account where it's easily accessible for you, but the interest rates on those accounts are so low that it's not really making you any money. So it's just sitting there. And so if you're able to get up to 6 months, I feel like, this is just my personal opinion, like it's better to just stop putting money into that account and put money into different things that would give you better yield, so your money is not just sitting there doing nothing. You might say, well, Janet, I don't even have enough money left after I've paid my rent or my bills to be able to put money in an emergency fund. And I completely understand that. I was that person also. When I first heard about this concept, I was that person that was like, where will I see 6 months worth of my living expense to put in an emergency fund? Because my salary is not even enough to take care of myself and the people that I was taking care of at that time. So where is the opportunity to put 6 months worth of my living expense in an emergency fund? In my case, I would say I was financially irresponsible at that time, because looking back, I did have a lot of expenses that were unnecessary. That were unnecessary at that time. And when I sat down to go through my bank statement, to go through all the things I pay for every month, I was able to cut out some things that were completely unnecessary. And having that out of the way did give me a little bit of extra money left. And that did give me the confidence to start putting money aside as savings. In some other person's case, it can be that you are not financially irresponsible. It's just that your income is so small that it cannot give you the opportunity to be able to save money in an emergency fund. If you're struggling, the first place you would start, I would say, is to look at how much money is going out of your account every month and try to cut that down. Or if you cannot cut that down and you have the opportunity to increase your income, then that would be able to help to fund an emergency account. Okay, so not just reducing your expenses, but increasing your income help to solve this problem. So where should you keep this money? Well, in a bank account, of course. And it should be like a savings account. This is money that should be easily available to you. So if you need money like in the next 15 minutes, then you should be able to have access to the money in your emergency fund. That's how easily accessible it should be. It shouldn't be tied up in a business venture that will take you maybe a week to be able to liquidate. So having it easily accessible is also one of the characteristics of an emergency fund. There are some reasons why people struggle to maintain an emergency fund, or I would say savings in general. Like, there are some reasons why people struggle to keep up with their savings or putting money in an emergency fund. One of which is going back to take money out of that account. Let's talk about emergency funds right now. So your 3 to 6 months worth of living expense that you're trying to keep aside, right? And one of the struggle is going back to that account to take out money for unnecessary expenses. This is something I struggled with a lot, guys. I struggled with this a lot. That was my biggest problem. I didn't have the discipline to just let that account be. And the moment I put aside money, let's assume I was able to put aside $500, right? In the next week, I have gone to take out $100 or $150 in the, I kind of comfort myself saying, oh, well, I'm going to replace it anyway, you know? So I put money and I take a little bit out of it to spend. And that sets me back a lot because it took me much longer to be able to reach 6 months worth of expenses in an emergency fund. And I had to discipline myself and say, Janet, look, buying a pair of shoes is not an emergency. Don't touch that bank account. I was usually telling myself this every time, and I had to discipline myself not to always go back to dip my hand into that account because I felt, well, I can replace it. Well, in next month I'll just replace it, but yeah, I'm replacing what should have been there already a month ago, and then I add more in the coming months. So it was just setting me back a lot. So this is one of the things people struggle with, and I can say for sure I did struggle with this a lot. There's a reason why you're putting this money aside, and it should stay that way. only emergencies. Another thing that would be relatable to my Nigerian viewers or my African brothers and sisters is whenever you are the breadwinner of your family, it's difficult to save money. Like if your family, not just your immediate family but your extended family, some members of your extended family depend on you for financial assistance, it sets you back a lot. Like people struggle to save money, not talk of even putting money in an emergency fund. And you put down, let's say you put aside 50,000 naira in an emergency fund for a particular month. That is when all the phone calls will start coming. That is when your brother will start calling you, your sister will start calling you, your mom will call you, this thing broke in the house, so we need to replace it. Oh, we need money for this medicine. Oh, we need money for this. That is when health issues will start coming in the house, and then you start to, that money that you put aside, you now have to take it out and use it for a family emergency. So if you are like a breadwinner in your family, maybe not 100%, but at least you contribute some amount of money in your family, that is going to be a struggle. Like it's going to be difficult for you to be able to get to your savings goal. And this is one of the reasons why people struggle a lot to be able to save money or even have an emergency fund. There are so many life challenges that we go through. Like I don't know anyone that has not had any money issues or financial issues, except if you're from like a wealthy family and you have everything that you need. But a lot of people struggle financially to be able to keep up with paying certain expenses, and I understand that it's a challenge. But what I always say is that even in the midst of that challenges, like you should always try to find ways to be able to put aside something. Like it doesn't matter how small it is, but the most important thing is that you've started to put something aside. It can be, I don't know, it can be 100 naira or $5 or $2, like anything, but something should be going aside somewhere for you to be able to have as an emergency fund, because you never know, like you never know what can happen tomorrow. There's so much uncertainty happening in the world these days, and you want to be in a situation where you are able to fund for your living expenses in case something happens to you or to any member of your family. I don't know what you think about this topic. Do leave a comment down below. Like, do you have an emergency fund, and how has it helped you in difficult situations to be able to reduce the stress when it comes to having financial emergencies? Do leave a comment below. And if you don't have one, what are the things that are hindering you from building one, from building an emergency fund for yourself or for your family? I would really like to hear from you guys in the comment section. And don't forget to share this video. Also give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end, and I will see you guys in my next one.